Picture this. You are traveling through a scenic highway in the Western Ghats. Dense green on both sides, soft hill curves, early morning mist. It feels very serene until your vehicle suddenly slows down. A small group of people stand at the bend, quietly gesturing for the cars to stop. A lone elephant is waiting on the edge of the road, unsure whether to cross the road. The forest is on one side, the tea estates on the other, and a highway slices the landscape in between. In those few seconds, you see the entire dilemma of modern India. Development moves fast. Nature waits, hesitates, and finally adapts, often painfully. This is not a story of animals straying into human spaces. It is a story of habitats being redesigned without consulting the species that have lived there long before us. Hello everyone, I am Nayan Girigosavi and this is Current to Concept. Today we discuss the issue of man-animal conflict, but not as a series of isolated incidents, rather as a symptom of a deeper national challenge. How India balances economic ambition with ecological continuity. Let's decode this issue with analytical clarity. India holds 70% of the world's Asiatic lions, 60% of the world's tigers, and approximately 27,000 Asian elephants, over 50% of the global population, and 3,000 leopards in Maharashtra alone as per the 2023 census. But these species survive on just 21% of India's land, with only 5% under protected areas. The result is a widening ecological mismatch. We add over 10,000 kilometers of highways annually, while new railway lines cut through crucial elephant passages. Railway collisions killed 80 to 100 elephants every year, with major incidents in Odisha, Tamil Nadu and Assam making national headlines. At the same time, high-yield farms, sugarcane, banana, paddy offer 5 times the calories of wild fodder. So, then there are cities, Mysore, Guwahati, Dehradun, Pune, where urban expansion has quietly eaten up old wildlife corridors. These are now permanent conflict hotspots, and climate stress is a silent accelerator. Heat waves in 2023 and 2024 dried up forest water sources, pushing animals towards village ponds and agricultural wells. In drought years, states like Karnataka and Maharashtra have recorded a 40% rise in the man-animal conflict. Now, India's shift from reaction to prevention. Here's the part we often miss. India's response is quietly changing. A noticeable shift from reactive conflict management to preventive landscape-level governance. Take Assam, where the Gajamitra initiative trains local youth as first responders. AI-enabled sensors along the railway tracks have already prevented several elephant train collisions. In Kerala, after a series of major incidents, department now coordinates in real time and compensation is more transparent and quicker. In Uttarakhand and Karnataka, states are actively restoring elephant corridors through land acquisition and voluntary relocation, allowing animals to move without meeting human settlements. And in Maharashtra's sugar belt, especially in Pune and Nashik regions, people and leopards have found a surprising coexistence model built on community education, camera trapping, and scientific monitoring rather than relocation. Across India, forest departments now use thermal drones, night patrolling squads, AI-based early warning systems, and SMS alert networks that inform entire villages when a herd is on the move. Even infrastructure is changing. We now have wildlife overpasses and underpasses on new highways, inspired by global best practices like the ones on the Mumbai-Nagpur Samruddhi Expressway and Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. Inside forests, many states are planting fodder patches to reduce crop raiding, while digital compensation portals are making payments faster. So let's look at the science of solutions here. Scientists now agree that the success of any mitigation strategy depends on one principle. Animals must be able to move freely across landscapes. Corridor conservation is the single most powerful long-term solution. Canopy bridges for monkeys, underpasses for elephants, green routes for railways. Smart deterrents are proving remarkably effective. Beehive fences that elephants avoid, chili fences, solar-powered alarms, and early warning sirens that alert villages minutes before the herds approach. But perhaps the most underrated solution is community partnership. Tribal communities across central, eastern, and northeastern India hold generations of ecological knowledge. When involved meaningfully, they guide herds, report movement patterns, and reduce retaliation dramatically. And livelihoods matter. Compensation must be quick, insurance must be accessible. All these reduce stress on the families who live closest to wildlife. There is also a clear scientific consensus emerging that the translocation of problem animals is a last resort. Without habitat and behavior assessment, it only relocates the crisis. Now, a brief look at the legal and the policy layers here. India's constitution actually anticipates the conflict between the man and the wildlife. Article 48A directs the state to protect wildlife, whereas Article 51A makes it a duty for citizens as well. From the Wildlife Protection Act to the Biological Diversity Act and Environmental Protection Acts, the legal framework is strong, but implementation varies across states. Courts have increasingly emphasized ecological due diligence, corridor protection, and science-based mitigation. Now let's look at the integration of this entire issue across our GS papers. In GS paper 1, man-animal conflict can be used to explain geographic concepts like habitat fragmentation, land use change, and climate-driven migration. It shows how population growth, settlement expansion, and agricultural intensification reshape ecological spaces. On the societal front, you can link it with vulnerabilities of forest-edge communities, displacement of tribal livelihoods, and how cultural landscapes are altered when traditional coexistence patterns break down. Now in GS paper 2, that is from the angle of governance, federalism, and the rights framework, this issue is a powerful illustration of the constitutional mandate to protect the environment. It allows you to discuss gaps in governance, how interdepartmental coordination falls, how compensation mechanisms often exclude the marginalized groups, and how rights under the Forest Rights Act intersect with the conservation priorities. You can also evaluate the federal challenges. Wildlife moves across states, but coordination often doesn't, creating fragmented responses to a continuous ecological system. Now in your GS paper 3, from environment, economy, and technology perspective, this is the primary paper where the theme shines. You can bring in environmental degradation, loss of ecosystem services, climate impacts, and biodiversity decline. Economically, this man-animal conflict leads to crop loss, livelihood disruptions, infrastructure damage, and resource allocation burdens on the states. Technologically, you can explain how AI drones, radio collars, GIS mapping, and the landscape modeling offer preventive solutions that reduce both human and animal casualties. You can even connect it with disaster management as conflict spikes during droughts and the floods. Now, under your GS paper 4, from ethics, equity, and the responsibility point of view, man-animal conflict beautifully illustrates the ethical dilemmas. Should development prioritize speed over ecological justice? What is the moral responsibility towards species pushed into conflict by the human decisions themselves? You can integrate themes like intergenerational equity, compassion, stewardship, and ethical governance. Conflict situations also test the administrative integrity, ensuring fair compensation, resisting pressures from vested interests, and balancing empathy with enforcement. Now let's look at the larger civilizational question of development versus nature. At its core, this conflict is not about rogue animals or careless villagers. It is about two expanding systems competing for the same shrinking landscape. India's development model has often counted kilometers of road, acres mined, or megawatts produced, but rarely the ecological cost involved. This conflict forces us to confront a deeper truth. Short-term development cannot come at the price of long-term ecological collapse. And sustainable growth is not anti-development. It is the only form of development that survives the time. A future of coexistence is the way forward here. Man-animal conflict is essentially a story of shared spaces, shared vulnerabilities, and a shared destiny. India's challenge is not to choose between wildlife and people. It is to design landscapes where both can thrive, with informed policy, local participation, strong science, and sensitive governance. Coexistence is not just possible, it's already happening in pockets across India. We just need to scale it. Because nature is not the obstacle to development. It is the foundation on which development stands. If this session has enriched your perspective or your UPSC preparation, don't forget to follow the channel for more such timely updates. You'll find today's notes in the description box below, and let me know what issues you'd want me to discuss in the upcoming sessions. Thank you and keep learning.